Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. Pride, did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hello,
you.
hello. I'm not hearing Pride. I mean, am I talking? Or
Yes, you are talking.
oh, okay. Oh, so why I'm not hearing? Oh, interesting. I'm not hearing Pride, so I might need
Oh,
to take
technical
10
difficulties.
seconds. I'll check my sound. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I can hear everything else, but not. Oh, all right. I hear myself now. Yeah. Hello.
All right. Can you hear me as
All
well?
right. Oh God, so good to hear you cry on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
yeah, excited.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
excited. So
last
what
day
we
of
have,
the jam.
it's the last day of the jam. We
Yeah,
have a lot of games, and they look
a lot
amazing
of it.
based on
And
the.
look, yeah, I was so impressed by by the jammers' abilities to like deliver. I mean, like, yo, production is real. I'm like,
Uh-huh,
such a
uh-huh.
job.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm super proud of all our jammers, and
yeah.
to think also that there's quite a lot of like first-time jammers at the jam, and they're making these things, and I'm like, oh, what the hell?
Well, you know what they say. First timers are the most, yeah, energetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, how many jams have you been to at this point?
Well, I think 3 or 4. I started in 2016. Yeah. I was very hardcore in my first jam. Like, I didn't sleep that night. Yeah.
And
My
now you
seniors
sleep
were
all the time.
concerned. Yeah. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm old now, so I can chill a bit. But yeah,
Yeah, I think this is
yeah.
one of, well, I'm at 20 plus jams at this point. I don't know.
20 plus. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
and technically I'm
Mhm.
not making a game this year, so I don't know
Oh,
if I can
okay.
count it as a jam. But on the other hand, I also started making a game yesterday, and
I doubt you. I doubt you.
we'll see. I have an iPad next to me, so I might be doodling on that one
In half an
when I'm
hour. Yeah.
yes. But
All
yeah,
right.
so what we have in store for you wonderful stream watchers today is jammer interviews. So some of our amazing jammers signed up to give a little talk or be interviewed live on the stream, which is, I mean, I'm not sure
Yay.
I would do that. Super brave of you. But we will be kind. We will be talking a little bit about your jamming experiences and overall game making. And then some of you have even prepared something to share with us. And yeah, we will be starting off with our first jammer. And our first jammer is Marcus, or as he's known on our Discord server, Chips or Sir Donut.
Sedona.
Yes,
Yeah.
we welcome you in.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello.
I have
Hello.
also.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am aware of my multiple identities at this point.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at the Pride Game Jam Helsinki?
Sure. Okay. So, hello everyone. I am Marcus.
Hi,
I'm a
Marcus.
third year.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for saying hello to me. I am happy that people acknowledge my presence. But I'm a third year student at XAM. I study game design. And during these past few months, I've been battling a lot of PT services and such, which many can relate to. And they set a tier for me, but no need to cry for me, dear children, I will be fine. And because of this situation, because I have been not able to find work yet, I have been setting things for starting my own company. So that is in the making at the moment.
Oh.
Amazing.
Co-founders or founders?
I'm currently trying to figure things out by myself. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And in our notes we have that you would want to do a little bit of a talk.
I suppose I do.
Yes. So we'll let you take it away.
Okay, let me first
Yeah.
see if I can figure out how the sharing thing works. I'll see if I can do this. Hold on.
Yeah, there's
Do, do,
simply
do.
on the bottom of the StreamYard screen, there should be a button called Share.
There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Amazing.
All
Technology
right.
is working out.
Amazing.
Hooray! Okay, so was it that I have like 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, 10 minutes
Yeah.
or so. Sounds great.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to apologize on the behalf of everyone who sees this presentation and it takes them back to their like preschool times where they see the teacher's mouse cursor. And I know I could like open the window down here, but I need to see how many slides I have here. So I hope you can forgive me a little bit.
We
Aw,
will
so sweet
never
of you.
forgive you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Like this is unforgivable, and now we've been spoiled that there are 11 slides.
Oh goodness.
Oh.
Well, try to stand me. So, my small love representation that I have prepared for you is writing an LGBT plus character, and you see all my beautiful credits regarding my various personalities. So, pick the one you will. So, if you think about like the medium as a in a general, like what kind of characters do we have representing LGBT characters? Like, well, for example, in movies, in comics, in games, there's usually the situation where there is a main character who meets another person and is like, oh dear, I might like this person. Oh goodness, but they're the same gender as me or something like that. I don't know how should I react to this situation? And we have seen this story done pretty many times, and there's nothing wrong with that because for my personal experience, these kind of stories have been helping me out to figure out what kind of person I am, what kind of people do I find attractive and such. For example, when I was little, I was like, okay, I guess I'm straight. Then I grew up and I was like, nah. And I mean, why should I exclude people? Because there's only lots of possibilities. Did we miss somebody? Oh dear. Or is this
No,
like
we just jumped off to give you the full
okay?
stage.
Okay,
Hope
thank
it's all
you. I
right.
was worried that
We're
you
still
were so
here.
We're
you were
still
so
here.
into the presentation that you were gone, and I was like, oh no, what have I
Oh
done?
no. Yeah.
Okay,
No worries.
okay. The main thing is that you're safe. So, I don't exactly remember where I was going, but let's just say that this was a huge part also for me to figure out who I was. For example, there were some good old movies which might have not have the best representation. There's some stereotypes. There's some how should I put this? There's some certain cliches that you see a lot. I don't want to name any certain products or movies, so I won't be stepping on anyone's toes. But I want to, like, with respect, to say that there are some characters, some products with comics or whatever, which we could definitely improve. And what do I exactly mean by improving? Well, there's nothing, as I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with the setting that we have a, let's say, young characters who's in high school or university, or overall we could consider the person young. So let's say from 15 to 20 something years old. This is the range of young, apparently, in my perspective right now. There are some plots and possibilities that haven't actually been covered. And this is something that I would like to point out for you, darling people, today. That when you are writing LGBT characters, and I'm sorry if I'm missing some of the letters, I'm not doing intentionally, I'm just still in the middle of my coffee. But basically, something that I would like to point out is that there's so much possibilities that haven't been covered yet. And those of you who might have seen, okay, I will mention one example, BoJack Horseman. It's a animated TV series for adults, if I remember correctly. It's definitely not for children. I think my dog just broke in. Hello. I apologize. And now she wants out. Let's see if she can calm herself down. That's my baby. There we go. Okay.
Never apologize for dogs.
I don't, but I want to be a polite little baby. But as I would like to mention from BoJack Horseman is that something that they actually do really well is that when I was watching the series, I did notice that almost non-stop in almost every episode, there was some kind of representation of LGBTQ community. For example, there was, I don't want to give any spoilers, but for example, there is a character who's, I wouldn't say main character, but is playing a big role in the series. And we will figure out more about their identity when they are actually starting to figure out why they don't feel comfortable with some things that other people seem to be so okay with. And because of that, they start to think about things, meet new people, and expand their knowledge to, okay, wait a minute, what if I'm just not personally maybe interested in this and this thing? And they start to grow and expand their awareness to finally like realize that, okay, maybe the possibility is that I am asexual. And those little younglings who don't know what an asexual is, that basically means that you're a person who's not interested in doing any like I guess it depends on the person, but not willing to go farther than cuddling, or maybe you're willing to do some cuddling. It really depends on a person, but that you are not like interested in to get too intimate with the other person. And besides that, like there were lots of couples who were like gay couples. There were lots of couples who were like discussing polyamoric things and such like things, which was really amazing because no one made a big deal out of it. And it was really amazing to see that, okay, wait a minute, there's something different in this show when I compare it to other shows, because it felt so normal and it felt so validating to see that, hey, wait a minute, these characters and people are being treated normally. No one makes a fuss out of it. It's somebody who's a lady is having a girlfriend, or someone who is like a man has a who is married to another man, or stuff like that. Or there might be, I don't remember. Correct me in chat if somebody knows. Was there like 6, 8, or 11 dads who all had adopted one daughter and they all just loved her, and it was amazing. I do understand that it might have been a little parodic, but it was still really positive view. Like no one wanted to step on anyone's toes. Like everyone was respected, no matter how they were swinging when we were talking about, let's say, like, well, are you interested in people of the same sex, gender as you, or the other side, whatever. It wasn't a big deal, and it was really, really refreshing to see that. So, therefore, if I go one little step back, it's really interesting and really good that there's these kind of shows to show that, hey, you know what, it's okay to be like, hey, is it possible that I'm not meant to be the kind of person who, for example, my parents or caretaker or my siblings are trying to grow me up to become? And it's okay, because you're trying to figure out who you are. And this kind of shows normalize it, so you don't feel like, if every gay character, for example, gets pointed out like, hey, we're making a big fuss out of this because of reasons, then it feels really like aggressive, and it can really be like, we don't want that kind of attention to us. We just want to be treated like everyone else. And I know that I do. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I assume that everybody just wants to be treated like another human being. So that's why I wanted to mention BoJack Horseman as a great example, because it normalizes things and it doesn't make a big deal out of such things. But besides of, if I return to this subject, like how should we be writing LGBT plus characters, then figuring out who you are, figuring out what you're swinging for, it's okay to go through those kind of subjects. But I would like to throw a challenge to you little writers to expand a little bit. Because, for example, there's lots of content. I say lots in a very vague term. There are lots of content usually about surrounding a character who's, for example, young. I haven't actually seen so much representation of, for example, elderly people who are part of the LGBT community, because it's not like you get expired. It's not like, okay, you know what, it's been 30 years, time to get interested in women now since I'm a man, such like things. No, it doesn't work like that, because even if you're interested in, let's say, you were born a man, you identify as a man, and you like men, you can still feel the same way, even if you are, well, expired, I guess. But like you're still you, and there isn't that much actually like representation of, for example, elderly people, and that is something that makes me pretty sad. And there's other possibilities as well, like, for example, on the left, we can see that there's a parent who's running away or taking a child to a daycare. There's lots of possibilities. And on the right, we can see that, okay, the arrow is actually pointing at the child. I don't remember seeing, reading, and having any kind of entertainment where we would see, for example, a rainbow family from the perspective of a child who's actually growing in this rainbow umbrella. So there's lots of possibilities. And this is something that I would like to point out, that, hey, don't be afraid to expand. There's lots of there's many kind of possibilities of what kind of story we could tell. And there's lots of stories that are being told with a non-LGBT characters, which are not seen like from the point of or including LGBT characters. So this is something I would like to point out to you guys, that, hey, dare to expand your comfort zone, because you don't know what kind of diamonds you might find there. And this is actually the final slide that I have. I would like to keep this here in case someone would like to say something about it, because I am aware of my misspelling, but I assure you it's partly intentional. But I hope this brought you some inspirational thoughts or new perspective. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marcus. That was amazing. Do we have any questions on our Twitch stream at this point? Let's see.
Check. Those drawings are super cute, Marcus.
Any thoughts on the bury your gaze trope?
I would like to give like, I would like to ask a question like, what does that actually mean? I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's me missing coffee.
It's a trope in storytelling where it tends to go the way that if a character is actually explicitly outed as an LGBTQIA+ character, but especially on the LGBT side of things, they tend to die during the story.
Oh, this one.
Oh.
Yes. As a most recent example, we have the supernatural debacle with the going to super hell thingy.
Yeah, okay. So I think you can already see from my face at least something of what I think about it, because it's kind of the same as with like people of color, because you don't like, you only miss things. You miss things out if you keep on like chopping people from the block who add variety to it. Like, why can't we keep more variety having characters? Why can't we have like colorful cast and just let it be colorful? Because it is really unfortunate to see. This actually reminds me that when there were even more rare LGBT plus characters that there are now, something that really did bother me in movies, series, whatever it was that I was enjoying, that the character who was giving some kind of vibe that they might not be straight, they were usually the villain, or they would die, or otherwise there would be negative representation about them. And that was really upsetting me, because, okay, that means that doesn't make me a good person, because I start to feel ashamed about myself. And about the dying trope, burying, whatever it was called, that's really unfortunate, because I see it only as a sad thing, because then all we have left is people who have the similar identity, or they are carved from the same wood. Does that make sense? And that doesn't make the cast interesting. So
yes,
it's a loss.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the whole idea has a very kind of strong root in the, what's it called, the Motion Picture Production Code that was in effect in the US until 1968, but still kind of established a lot of the tropes that we see in representation. And that's really unfortunate. And I hope as a like community of creators, we're moving beyond that, but it's also at least I, as a creator, sometimes notice that since we have these tropes of representation, they are, subconsciously affecting you as a creator sometimes.
Absolutely.
So it might be.
Yeah.
It's very. I like your message because it's also on us as creators to move beyond what we're kind of immediately thinking of as being a normal way of doing things, or the way that kind of feels true because of some inner reason. Because sometimes those are, they might be remnants of this past or of tropes that have kind of affected us.
Absolutely. Because something that I could actually comment to that this doesn't necessarily relate to, let's say, the LGBT community, but it has a similar message that I remember when I was like in not preschool, but in the middle school. I remember if I was between 10 to 14 years old, something like that. And I remember that we had a textbook, and there was a picture of a woman who was leaning in to have a conversation with another lady. And there was lots of hustle at the back of our class. And some of the kids were basically whispering between themselves that, oh gosh, that lady has really hairy hands. And back in the day, I'm comfortable with this. I know I might have not mentioned this otherwise, but I'm a transgender man. So back in the day when that was the situation, I identified as a woman. So that made me feel really insecure of my body, and especially my hands, because I've always had hairy hands. You don't see it, but take my word for it.
Yeah, I've also had hairy hands. I remember in like 4th grade, we were comparing arms, and I had the second hairiest arms in my class.
But
yeah, definitely. It's a serious topic.
Your hair. Yes.
Yeah.
Related to that, something that I did like to when I was started to get more into comics and drawing is that I really enjoyed drawing bearded men, and I get this really nasty comment from my friend who's like, "Oh gosh, like that's disgusting. Why are you drawing dirty old men?" And I'm like, "No, I like beards," and it took years for me to kind of get over that and face that, you know what, it's okay if I want to try, for example, characters who are not these young and baby-faced and polished and young, because that is also one reason why I wanted to mention this thing, for example, about the elderly representation in games, because we don't even need to be talking about elderly. We can be talking about like adults in general, because, for example, there are lots of TV series that where the character is like 15, but it's being acted by a person who's 25 or 27, and they are doing things that people who are underage definitely shouldn't do, and that makes you question, like, okay, what's the message that you're trying to give again? Because right now you're glorifying this certain aesthetic which is not healthy. So I'm upset.
Definitely. But yeah, thank you very much for this. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Nam, do you want to introduce our next jammer? And of course, we wish you very good rest of the jam, Marcus, and we're looking forward to seeing your game as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you kick me out, or will I do it somehow by myself?
I think you will magically disappear because of Björn's magic.
Okay. I shall let the magic take care of it. Take care, everyone. I shall turn into dust right now. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and have a fine jam, everyone. Can't wait to see you again.
Thank you, Marcus. Have a nice
Thank you.
I shall now disappear.
Oh, he did disappear.
Wow, magic!
Thank you, Bjorn. Thank you.
Marcus turned into dust. Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay. So who do we have next?
We'll be having Isabel. Isabel, are you here?
Yes.
Hello, Isabel. How's your day going? Hello.
Pretty good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
how you
how's
feeling?
the jam? Yeah.
Yeah, how's the jam?
Well, I'm super excited. I mean, we still have stuff to work on, but I think things are running pretty smoothly. So I'm excited to see how it all turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
how did you?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
We're really excited as well. How did you find out about the jam, and what made you join?
Oh, I found out about it on Helsinki Pride Week's website when I was scrolling to see if there were any like virtual things to join, because I'm at my summer cottage, so I couldn't join any parades, etc. And then I found out about this, and I was like, oh, I haven't heard about this before. This sounds interesting, and I got in. So
Yeah. So is this your first game jam?
yes.
Awesome. Like, well, we're super happy to have you. Have
Yeah.
you made games before?
No, but I've been planning games because I'd like to work in game development in the future. So I've been like writing my own games, making art, etc.
Excellent.
Oh,
Well,
writing.
we're
Wow.
really proud of you for joining. I mean, first jams can be quite scary sometimes, but we hope
But
you've had a good
super
time.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had
Yeah.
fun so far.
Yes. We have in our notes that you would like to talk a little bit about representation, and I think that's a great topic considering we were just talking about representation with Marcus as well.
Yeah, this one's more specifically, it's going to be about female representation and a bit of queer representation as well, because those two are the ones that I relate to and that I have experience of, so I can talk about those.
Excellent. Well, we'll let you take it away. That sounds really interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
By the way, how does the screen sharing work? Can I just put it on anytime?
Yes, you can put it on anytime, and then Björn will work his magic, and it will show
Again.
up. Yeah.
Great.
Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Awesome.
So,
All right.
hello, I'm Isabel, and I'm here to talk about representation and good representation, to be more specific. And well, what is good representation then? Well, it's when the people who are being represented, so to say, actually feel like they're being represented. They actually get joy out of it. So it's not just the game developers trying to make as much money as possible and then patting themselves on the back for being representative. No, it actually has to spark joy in other people than just straight white cis men, because that's the people who get the most representation at the moment. And well, why does it matter? Well, first of all, it makes people happy, like I said before, but also something that's even more important is that it also contributes to erasing hurtful stereotypes and norms, such as for women, for example, that women are only fit to do housework and be those objectified love interests of the straight cis male character. Or then with queer people, for example, that gay men are weak and annoying and whiny, and lesbians are hypersexual and rude. Because they are obviously very hurtful stereotypes, and those are just to name a few. So then, what is good representation, Isabel? Can you give us some examples? Yes. So I'm going to share my screen. Yes. Here we go. And I made a mini presentation, kind of. So here we have a bunch of different female characters from movies, or not movies, games. And these female characters are characters that have made me feel represented when I've played these games or watched playthroughs of them. And I'm going to start here on the left. So this is Sadie Adler from Red Dead Redemption 2. And she's unfortunately not a playable character, but she's a very cool side character whose character development can be followed through the game. And that game is a game about outlaws, cowboys, so it's male dominated. So it's really refreshing to see a female character there as well who's actually good at her job. Then we have Max and Chloe. They're from Life is Strange, and this one I would probably rank like the lowest on the list, just because there are slight like issues, but it's still good considering that the game was made by like three cis men. And Max here on the right, she has cool time traveling superpowers, and then Chloe is this cool punk rock woman, and they're very close friends, and you can actually have a romance between them too, so that's cool. But the problem is that, like discussed before, there's the bury your gays trope. So spoiler alert, either Chloe has to die or you both die, and all of Arcadia Bay dies. So that's wonderful. But then we have Jessie Faden from Control, the one on the up right corner. And she's, well, first of all, she's a badass main character, a playable character. And she's not only the boss of her company, but she also has super cool superpowers. And she also has a really cool weapon. So she's awesome. And then my favorites here down on the left lower corner, we got Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Eivor from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And they're literal assassins and like the best fighters of their time. And their skills evolve as you play, they get stronger as you play, and they're just as strong as their male counterparts. Because in these games, you can choose if you want your character to be male or female, and they're literally the same, except for that they look a little different, have different voices, but they have the same set of skills and the same range of weapons. So it's awesome. And also, they're queer. Like you can, there are so many different romancing options. You can romance so many different characters with different gender identities. Sure, they're a little awkward at times, especially in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it's all we've got so far, so I'm just happy about it. Then we have probably the most well-known one, Ellie from The Last of Us 2. And yes, she's in The Last of Us 1 as well, but I feel like The Last of Us 2 is when she like really gets to shine. We really get to know her even better and know her skill set even better. Sure, she has massive PTSD and anger issues, but she's also a cool female character. And she's a badass fighter, just like Cassandra and Eivor, and she just gets better as you play. And she has a girlfriend, so pretty good if you ask me, considering what we have. And yes, they're different characters, but they still have some things in common, as you may have noticed, otherwise from being very badass. But first of all, they can do anything that a male character could do, most of them. And also, they are not just put up against female characters to fight. They actually fight different kinds of characters. They actually have a cool quest going on. And they're not dependent on a male, like a cishet male character for throughout their whole story. So they actually get to evolve by themselves through this story. And now, last but not least, someone might be wondering, well, if I already have these characters, if we already got so many cool characters, then why are you complaining about this, Isabel? Isn't this enough? Well, yes, there are cool characters, and that's exactly why we need more. Like, we should not stop here. We need to keep going so that this like stereotyping could actually shrink, and that all the discrimination in the gaming community. I mean, come on, there's so much misogyny and racism and homophobia, queerphobia in general going on in the gaming community. This is one of the ways to actually tone it down. So we should not stop. I mean, let's let's keep going because gaming after all is for everybody. It should be for everybody to enjoy, not just straight white cis men. Sure, of course they can enjoy, but they're the ones who have been had the chance to enjoy it for the longest because they've always been represented. But like gaming is for everybody, no matter who you are. Thank you.
That's super cool. Thank you, Isabel. One thing I also noticed when you showed your slide of really cool characters, and this is kind of I guess this is a critique for the industry to think about. Like, all of those characters are white.
True.
And they kind of suffer, some of them, of same face syndrome as well. Like,
yep.
If you were to cast these characters in a movie, they could be played by the same actor. Is this something you have a thought on?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that it just didn't fit in my presentation, but yes, definitely. Like that's something that the movie industry has issues on, but the gaming industry has even more issues with. Like, yeah, it's like these characters too, they're definitely not perfect. They could definitely be made even better. But like here we also see how desperate we are to get at least a little bit of representation. So even though it is pretty crappy, like Ellie too, she has a massive amount of issues. Everybody was still like, yes, oh my god, a lesbian. And yes, it's definitely, they should have so much more variety, like people of color, and then plus sized people as well have zero representation, really, in the gaming community. Like, that is definitely something that should also be evolved. Absolutely.
There's also another issue, I guess, which is oftentimes when we have characters who are, player characters and they have romance options, we have this very, very strong concept of player sexuality, which means that, you're free to romance characters of any gender, which means that, quite a lot of straight players will never explore the queer romances in a game, for example.
True.
And then we have in certain games you have queer only or kind of monosexual characters. For example, you might have the character Dorian or Sarah in Dragon Age Inquisition, for example, who are gay and lesbian, respectively. Do you have a thought on this as well?
Yes, and like I said, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, especially with Cassandra, those romancing options, they are very, very awkward, and also it's it's so weird. It's just like, oh, I like you, okay, let's get to bed immediately. It's so weird, but it's like they definitely need to work on like the actual romance part, and that's also where it's kind of questionable because
Play Dragon Age, it's better.
I started on it. The controls are just a little weird. I have to get used to them after Assassin's Creed.
They are.
But yes, I like it so far. But there too, like, that's like the kind of problem with those games. There's definitely fetishization going on, like especially with the female characters. So, and there are like romancing options. So that's also definitely something that should be worked on.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much for this. We hope you have a really good rest of the jam. And this was really, really cool, really good perspective to get at this point. Do you have any last minute wishes, or do we have any questions from the stream at this point? Let's see. Oh, there's lots of comments.
Yeah, a lot of cool comments. This is how you gay the game.
Yeah.
Yes. I like Shiraya's comment, the 2 steps of lesbian, like woman to bed.
That's Assassin's Creed Odyssey in a nutshell. It really shows how desperate we are, because even though it clearly has issues, we're still like, but at least we have something.
Yes. And then there's another point would be how many games geared toward hetero men are something with the romance options. Yes.
Yep. And that also has to do with the male gaze. That's something I forgot to say, but the male gaze is something that's definitely prominent in these games, and that's also something that we should try to erase.
Yes. I mean, I've also heard the concept of introducing instead also the female gaze as a counterpart. That if we have this like specific kind of male gaze view of female characters, we could have a similar on male characters. But I don't know if that's like actually solving anything.
But like, it's more about perhaps actually having people who it is about engage in that game, like asking people, having people help create the character. If it isn't you, if it doesn't represent you, then having people who it represents or should represent, they're telling you about their opinions, telling you what is good, what's not good. Like, it's really about communication and talking with people, interacting with people, because how else are you going to make what they want?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you again. I think we have to move on to our next interview. I could talk all day about these topics. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you want to poof into the ether, do a magic effect and disappear?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lovely. Wow.
Oh my lord.
We're getting better at this. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Definitely.
So next up we have Janna, who will be joining us. Hello, hello.
Hi, Nam.
Morning,
Hi,
Janna. Yeah.
And
morning.
good morning or noon. Oh wow, time flies.
Time flies,
Janna is one of our pretty amazing jammers in that they are also an organizer, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of juggle both of it, but I've taken a little step back from organizing so I can focus on the game.
But it's completely all right. I mean, you did a lot of things behind the scenes before the jam, including making our wonderful badges. I unfortunately don't have one on me right now, but jammers are being sent or have been sent a wonderful little laser cut badge, and those were made by you.
Yeah, that was fun to make. It was a really nice project, so I'm glad that I can kind of put my new skills towards our Pride Rainbow community. So,
yeah. So yeah, how did you kind of get involved with this? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, well, I think my first game jam was the global game jam. Was it last year or the year before? And then I've been kind of always had a few fingers in the Pride community, of course, being non-binary, and yay, there's the pin. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Nam, for digging it up.
Super cute. Super cute.
I'm glad you like it. Sorry about the gluing. We had trouble finding glue that would work both with wood and metal. That's a bit of a challenging combination. But if you have trouble, you can ping me on Discord. We can try to figure something out. But yeah, so I got involved in game jams because I wanted to find a way to make programs and games that were fun and make software as well. And I thought game jams are a great place to get involved. And I thought it's also a really nice way to get involved in our community here, in our Rainbow community, and to find ways to involve myself in it, but also meet other people who are allies and who are trying to still figure things out. And I think we're all kind of always figuring things out. And yeah, so it's been really, really a great experience participating and helping out with organizing in the little ways I can. Yeah.
Yeah. How is your so in game jams, what do you usually do for the teams?
I try to do more programming, or I'm a generalist. But my programming skills are very limited because I find that space really challenging. So I would like to do more, but I've done some programming courses, a bit of Java, a bit of Python, and that's kind of like an okay space, but being more involved in some of the tech crowds is, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And here it's much more welcoming and involving. And it's actually fun when there's less programmers. Sorry, programmers, but then we get to figure things out on our own, and not all the kind of solutions are presented to us. And we kind of need to struggle a little bit and find, you get a bit more courage and you believe in yourself a bit more when you kind of find those solutions than someone solving them for you. So, and even just going out and asking someone, like, Pride, you've helped, like, awesome, trying to help me with this little game. And yeah, so it's been really nice to like reach out and kind of struggle through. And I feel more confident now with Construct 3 as well. So yeah, so this is kind of why I'm here, to up my programming skills as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a super like important point there, because quite a lot of people who are kind of interested in game making think that, oh no, I'm not a programmer, I can't make games. What would you tell these people?
Start with what you can do. And I think Twine, as a lot of people have been doing on this game jam, because I have a feeling there's a lot less programmers on this game jam than other ones. So people are using Twine, which is a great place to start. Even you can make like really simple HTML pages that are interactive. You can try that as well. And Construct 3 has very low amount of actual like text-based programming. So it's just more button clicking and selection. So I think these are like the really, really fine ways to start. Some people are using RenPy. I'm not familiar with it, but I was almost tempted to try it out for this game jam. And even just using something like Godot or Unreal Engine or Unity, and even if you're not going to do the programming, just playing with that, the gaming engine, just plopping things in the universe is just, you know, a good start. And then, you know, you'll meet other people and you'll find ways to stick in all the programming side and getting those interactions happening, and just playing with the physics as well is fun, because there's plenty of physics stuff I think you can do without actual real programming, or I should say text-based programming, which can be intimidating if you don't have that language. And don't be afraid of copy-paste. Copy-paste is your friend.
Definitely. We had actually a discussion with Björn yesterday after hours, like about the fact that like what actually separates you once you start to learn a bit more programming is that you get more comfortable with not knowing and just Googling, checking up, reading documentation, and kind of like treating the problems as they come. So, but I had very much fun. So we have a game dev help channel on our Discord for jammers. If anyone's watching this post the jam, and in that one, anyone can post a question. No question is too silly. But I was laughing at, like, you were asking a question like, why is the mouse rotating? And then just posted a link to the game. Fortunately, I have solved that specific problem before, but to someone else, that's like complete, like, what the hell kind of a question. But this is how it is when you're making games. You get these very specific, strange things not working, and then you work to solve them in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And
or then you find a workaround, because that's also fine. Sometimes it's not possible to do what you want to do through the engine that you're working with, or the language that you're coding in might have some limitations that you're not aware of if you're sort of new to programming in general. Because
or you just find a hack. You just find like another hack. The bee is also doing some really weird things. I think we solved that maybe, kind of. So yeah, go check out our game, Planting in Progress. So there's a lot of synergies with that game, actually. So you might find some meaning in there. But yeah, the little characters do weird things. And watch out for the mouse. It's going to eat some of your crop. Yeah, so just plugging our game a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. That's absolutely allowed here. Yeah, but yeah, it's very kind of. I want to encourage anyone watching that wants to kind of get more out of their game making to try one of these tools mentioned, because, well, I went to a workshop at Epic Games headquarters here in Helsinki on how to use Unreal Engine, and I was like, this is easier to use than Construct 3. This is simpler to use than Construct 3. This is much more drag and drop than Construct 3. So even the tools that are used professionally, some of their features are really, really accessible these days. And the kind of idea we have of that programming is kind of the hacker interface and the like I'm in kind of voice, and
the movie. I blame the movies. Like, we need to see more different kinds of people doing programming in different ways. Yeah. It's,
Always blame the movies.
Yeah. we need to make our own movies. Nothing about us without us.
Yeah, as a funding. Yeah, we want to change the world.
And definitely, if even so, you mentioned also Twine and Ren'Py, and both of those are languages that if you've at some point of your life made an HTML website or used, the bold tag or italics tag, you'll figure it out. You don't have to know much more than that.
And I think there are cheat sheets as well. Cheat sheets are my new best friend. So in programming space, you can break all the rules that they told you in school. So cheating, copy paste, all that. Well,
copy paste isn't cheating. That's part of programming normally.
Yeah, of course. Of course it is.
Do you have any tips for our jammers at this point?
Tips for jammers. Try share your game. Try make a demo game. This is actually making, this is what I've sort of been doing, because I get very impatient, and I want the game to be a game early on, so then people can already start being engaged and play with it. So if there's a way to kind of make early releases of your game, try to do that, so then we can be a bit more involved. Because following the conversations, it's a little bit, I get text fatigue or screen fatigue just going through all that. So sharing your game is another way to kind of show where you're at with it. And more pictures. I want to see more pictures.
More pictures. Yeah, I agree. Screenshots are always very nice, and also it's so easy to make a temporary hosting of your game. So it's really quite nice to kind of share the work in progress. It makes it also that much more impressive when you see the final product and you're like, oh wow, you pulled this last bit together and this time. And then it takes away some of the stress of a big kind of reveal if you do try to get it playable out as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a bit more incremental. So I also wanted to just talk a little bit maybe about the non-binary experience. I don't consider myself an advocate or representative. I just sort of speak from my own space. So one thing I've really also appreciated in the game jam is I don't have to justify my existence, like in a lot of other spaces where it's kind of not accepted or not even known to begin with. So I don't need to kind of take that space and make something that's unfamiliar comfortable for those around me. So everyone here just gets it, or they kind of get it, and it's a much more welcoming space to be in. So that's something that's been really, really great. Very nice non-binary space. I just wanted to say that. So
that's great to hear. I'm also non-binary, so in a kind of I don't enforce they them pronouns. I'm pretty comfortable with she they kind of pronouns still, and I exist both in kind of female spaces and non-binary spaces. But it's very nice to hear that that's work, because that's what we want. We want this to be a space where all our jammers and organizers are safe to come as they are, be themselves. That's all we want. Because I mean, why wouldn't we do that? why would we have to make spaces cumbersome or weird? And I think it's important to also be kind of explicit, hey, this is how we are in this space.
Yeah, it's would have made life easier if I had that much earlier on. I've always been non-binary, but not having a word for it made it really, really difficult. And then you kind of feel like you need to conform into a space that doesn't quite fit how you feel. So it's been really great to find more spaces like this where we can just exist, and that's that's rare. I think that's really hard for a lot of people to find spaces where we can just exist. So yeah, I really, really appreciate it. This work that we're doing together, actually.
Yeah. And I hope something that in the future becomes more common. I think at least here in Finland, oh no, I'm dropping out. But at least here in Finland, the whole concept of being non-binary, it's not that old in kind of the public eye, and understanding around that is kind of, it's increasing.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of helps in Suomi or Finnish that there is no, like, the pronoun is easier, but there's a lot of cultural expectations when you have a certain body type.
Yes.
And there's a lot of pressure there. I feel it every time I'm going in certain spaces. So, like, whether it's corporate or just out in the street or meeting people, there is that sort of unsaid pressure to
for sure
perform certain emotional labor, so to speak. And I think we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that here. So
yeah. I agree, and it's also something that, it's since we have this kind of gender neutral language, which is not completely gender neutral, it also means that it's always a question of disclosure, because you can't just go like, hey, my pronouns are she, they at the start of a conversation in Finnish, and then someone can kind of pick up on that and be like, oh, okay, let's not refer to this person as a woman or a girl. But
exactly.
So then it becomes this like, should I tell these people I'm not comfortable being interviewed about being a woman in the industry or whatever? Like,
yeah, and all the assumptions that kind of come with that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a very important perspective. Thank you for that. I think we have to move on to our next interview,
Sure.
but like we could talk about this topic forever as well. Like,
yeah, we could have another one. Maybe we make some little game about it. And we do it, how to navigate being a non-binary in a language that seems non-binary but isn't. So.
Oh yes, that's needed.
Yeah, we could figure that out. Okay, I'll start noodling on it after the game.
do you want to make a disappearance trick for Björn?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Pride. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Yeah, lovely having you. Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
Wow.
They disappeared as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting used to it. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
And next up, we have another of our jammers. We have Glossibone joining us to talk a little bit about her jam experience. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hope you can hear me fine.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Fine. That's like
that's a very fine. Yeah.
I'm supposed to, like, I'm doing so bad. No. I'm actually doing I think like pretty good. Was just like watching the stream for the last few speakers, I think from like Isabel onwards. So we are in the same team with her, or working on the same project in this jam.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Tell us what you're working on.
How's it going?
I don't know. We've been discussing how are we going to present the project without spoiling it too much, because it's very story driven. It's a visual novel, so can't really show or tell too much because it will otherwise spoil the fun for the player. But yeah, we've been working on I guess we can call it a visual novel. I'm the programmer, so it's been really fun learning the RenP. This is the first time, the first time I opened RenP or read about it was like at the start of this jam, and they were looking for a programmer, and I was like, well, I'll just check this RenP thing out, and we'll see if I can do something with that. So.
But it's a pretty amazing game engine, because you can literally do that. You can be like at the start of a under 48-hour game jam, like okay, let's choose this tool. And then you
Yeah.
can learn it in like half an hour, enough to start noodling with it.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Like if you don't, if you're not like if you don't want to do anything like tricky or so on, if you just want to do like a story that you click through, you literally don't need like I don't think you need a lot of coding experience, even though like the file can look a bit weird. But when you learn like these few things, then it's just writing basically. And of course, we have a bit more. We have some different endings, so you have to have some sort of ifs and else's there, a bit of coding, not in quotation, it's actual coding. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah, it's actual coding.
But like previously talked, it's like I would encourage people to really like try these. Like there's so many engines out there, like you mentioned Unreal, and then there's Unity. Well, Unity is a bit difficult, maybe.
Unity is tricky.
That's a trickier one. But anyways, like there's so much free resources that you can try, and some of them are very ready-made. Like Ren'Py is, of course, it's for visual novels, but still it gives you so much. And the quick start on the website, they have so much documentation, forums, and like a big community that you can find information in. And like definitely, I think game jams especially are very motivating to try something new because it's a short amount of time, you're trying to push something, and it can easily motivate you to like sort of actually learn. At least for me, I find it a bit hard to study on my own. So I probably would have never picked up Ren'Py just to try it out for me, myself, alone in my room or like in my house, but it's one room. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, the project is going pretty well. I think we have like a lot of it done. Right now, I'm supposed to, or not right now, but like stuff I'm still supposed to do is sort of like piece it together, add the music and sound effects in the right spots, and some of the artwork in the right positions and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's going pretty well. I think we have worked efficiently. So like the project has not been too huge for this team. Yeah, I don't know.
That's wonderful to hear. So our jam is online this year. Has that affected how you're working, or how has that felt like working with?
Well, actually, I was in the PrideJam 2022, or like 2020.
Yes, good.
But
time traveler among us.
2022 already. 2021.
But even back then, the jam was like half on site and half online, and it was nice to meet people and sort of get the jamming experience on site. But it's actually easier for me to do the work from home. And last year, half of my team was online, and me and one other person were available on site. So I think it was still probably pretty similar workflow in that sense. We've had like meetings and sort of like some deadlines, like, okay, like let's meet at X time and have this and this done. I think it works pretty well. Of course, it maybe makes it so that we're a bit separate in a sense that like, okay, I'm doing this programming stuff and I'm like working on this. And then when some update or something happens, then the others can sort of like, oh yeah, like now we're checking it. When on site, you could always just lean over the shoulder and be like, oh, like what's going on there? And I don't know, it's maybe not as interactive, but also that might work very well for some people. I don't know. I don't have a lot of comparisons. So I haven't been to a lot of game jams. I've been more to hackathons. And in hackathons, I think it has been helpful to be on site because we're all coding the same thing. So it's very important to instantly be able to be like, hey, I found the solution. It's here. Come check it now. so we can like share it. But now that I'm the solo programmer in this project, I don't really like need that. So it's just me being like, oh, I found the solution. Good me. But yeah, I also had some time to do some artwork for another project. So that's also kind of fun that I'm part of two, or got to be a part of two teams this time. But yeah, I think in general, the experience here in Pride Game Jam this and last year has been like, how can I say, like matalan kynnyksen.
Like
So,
low threshold.
yeah, to join and do stuff, at least for me, because Pride Game Jam, the last year was the first game jam that I had ever been to. And I went in alone, and this year, again, I came alone. So, I don't know, that was like, it was very easy to come in and find a team. This year, there was actually multiple teams that I found the ideas to be like fun. But of course, I don't have time to help with every team, so I had to like jump in one to get started. And I guess like I could talk a bit about like I think this topic was sort of brushed before about like getting into programming and how the game jams usually have a lot more graphic people in them, or like people who do arts and stuff. Because like my story.
It's quite interesting because earlier it was said that like usually there's more programmers on jams, but you feel like there's usually more graphic artists.
Oh, I usually feel like at least in here in Pride Game, like last year and this year, I felt like there was very little programmers, and like as I said, I could have joined multiple teams because like there just wasn't that many programmers joining, and even in my team, we are 6 people, I think, and there's just me and 5 who are doing the audio, visual, and story stuff. So I do think there's less programmers, but then in other, like of course in hackathons, everyone is a programmer. So that's for me, I guess it's a drastic difference. So like it's either all are programmers or like there's 1 or 2 per team. But yeah, I do think it's like with all the engines and stuff, it's pretty easy to jump into like start programming and maybe get interested. And I guess as a woman, I feel like when I was younger, I was very much discouraged from like male-dominated fields like programming, or even some like maths, and like even when
Science.
I was good, like even
science
when I was
is for male, math is for guys.
Yeah, and even when I was good with them, it was like, oh yeah, like you're just like girls are just smarter. Like it's so weird, like especially when you're really young, like let's say in the from 1st to 6th grade or something. It's like, well, like girls read books and they study, so of course like you're gonna be decent in all of the stuff, and like it doesn't mean anything. You're just a girl, so it's like you're gonna do like
for life.
Yeah, like you could be a teacher. Like don't go to STEM field. You could be a math teacher, but like not do something with math. Like it's really weird. And so I used to, for a long time, till like very like few years ago was when I started studying programming. But before that, I actually was doing arts and stuff. I studied graphic design and was really set on like, oh yeah, like art, that's something I can do and I should do. And I felt like I had a lot of pressure to go to a creative art field. And I was like, at some point I was like, wait, what? I don't actually want to do this as a job. Like it's a great hobby and I love doing art, but like, do I actually want to study this for 4 years and then as a job for the rest of my life? No, thank you. So that's when I was like, oh yeah, like I'm an adult. I need to like forget all the pressure and I have to like do something for myself. And that's when I started working on like what do I actually want to do, and found programming, and of course games were always an inspiration, either in arts or programming. But yeah, then I got into this, and I was like this is actually pretty creative. Like programming has the creative aspect too, like because you are actually creating something. So yeah, I would encourage like people, if you're even just a tiny bit interested in programming or these sort of fields, and feel like, oh yeah, like I'm not good enough, or people want me to do something else, or I should be doing something else, like at least try it out. Not maybe like you don't have to go to school, but there's a lot of online courses and workshops and stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely like identify with all you just said.
Yeah,
because like it's very kind of true. I think on my part, a big thing was also that like, even though there is like, I mean, I did good in math and science subjects, but the kind of guidance counselors were still guiding me towards like, yeah, you should maybe be a lawyer or a doctor. Kind of like those are fields you should go towards.
Yeah.
And then I never actually, up until I started like my studies, had any idea of what do engineers do. I still have no idea. I'm also still like, I'm not quite sure what do engineers do, like what happens in the STEM fields. But yeah, this is definitely a thing, and that said, I was scripting games at the age of 15. But I didn't think of it as like I'm programming. I was more like I'm just making these to impress on my crush. Like that was my thought then.
Scripting games is impressing your crush.
Because like I used to be doing like at some point on DeviantArt, the Flash games were like all the rage.
Yes.
So like I was doing those, and I was like finding these coding stuff online, but I was actually modifying them, and I was getting feedback on like this stuff is happening too fast or whatever, and I was like changing the code, and I never thought about it as coding. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm just like doing something. I don't even like, what was I doing if I wasn't coding? So that was like really weird. And I remember like doing all those. Oh god, these are so awful. I don't know if anyone is old enough to remember at some point like the free webs and the stable websites.
Yes.
Make these online stables.
Oh yeah, I had those. Yes. I mean, I had Neopets sites as well, like for my pets and stuff. Yeah.
And that's like, so is coding. That's like really old school HTML and CSS, which I can't even do now. I did it better when I was like 10 than I do now. So yeah.
Did you do the rainbow hearts that go in an animation across the screen?
They were like, you could have all these awful animated cursor icons, and like, oh god, this is like
yes,
the sort of cringe that happens now in my brain is awful. But it was really funny because like even then no one was ever like, oh yeah, like you're so interested in tech and coding or computers, because like when I turned 12 or like when I got into my teens, my parents were like, oh yeah, like girls don't game, so all of your games and all of the consoles that we have in the household are given to your little brother, and he can take them to his room and he decides if you get to play or not. And like, it's my little brother, I never got to play. Like, come on. Like, he would even go as far as to, like, if I did game sometimes when he was away, he would remove all my save files afterwards.
Ooh, that's doing you dirty.
Yeah. So that was like rough. But I still kept my like interest in games, and it just maybe took a bit of detour, or sort of like I couldn't pursue it at all when I was around that age. But then when I got my own home and more of like control over my own stuff and computers and stuff, then it was like gaming all day again. you stop nothing. They tried so hard, and here we are.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a very like important thing, because I also like am a person who I was gaming kind of an average amount throughout my teens. Like I was playing Sims, I was playing some random CD-ROM games, this kind of things, but then I took a pretty big long pause from gaming as I was doing my bachelor's.
Yeah.
And now I'm working full time in the game industry. You don't have to be the person who's been like passionate about games since you were 7. Like it's fine to be someone who's like been a casual player and just gets interested in games late.
Yeah, and I definitely I sometimes feel when people are talking about all these big games that they're playing and like all these big titles or new games or stuff, and I'm like, I feel like, is this, or sometimes I get these small doubts like, oh my god, is this actually my field? Because I don't think I game that much. I don't game, or like I game a lot. I play a lot, but it's only a few specific games that I'm very into, and then I don't have the time or money to actually get into all these new titles, or like I don't have a TV or a console, so I do miss out on some big games. And sometimes it does feel like, oh no, like am I good enough to join a gaming field if I haven't played like this, that, and those, if I didn't play the old school Tetris, like
Tetris.
Yes.
But I think that's part of sort of gatekeeping, which, you know, those cliches, like if you have a band t-shirt and some, usually this guy will be like, oh yeah, like name 5 albums and the age of the singer's mother. And it is sometimes like that with gaming stuff or the tech field too. So even in school, I've like experienced is like, what are girls doing here? And or one of the worst comments I ever got was like, oh, this sounds so awful, but like one guy was talking to me outside class and he was like, oh yeah, like biology will push women towards nursing careers, but society has brainwashed you into believing that you have to be on a tech field, like in a tech field. And I was like, what do you even say to that? Like, you're basically saying that I'm brainwashed and I don't belong in here, and you're just thinking like, this is just a casual conversation. And the next comment was like, do you need a ride home?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess you have to have some confidence in any hobbies or interests you have, because there will always be people who start gatekeeping, start like planting in doubts or telling you you don't belong. So it is a shame that you usually have to have a lot of backbone to actually keep doing the things you love. And I guess like I wish everyone does that and can do that, but I know it sometimes can be really, really hard because like you meet so many people.
I think there's also like a good thing to keep in mind. This is something I've been struggling with. Because I'm a narrative designer and I'm kind of young in the field, and a lot of working narrative designers and game writers are quite senior, because it's a very competitive field, so it's a little bit hard to break in. But something I sometimes struggle with is that even conversations can be kind of hard, because you know people are throwing around references like it's just everywhere, and so but I've also learned that most people do not mean to exclude others through those. So, and it's always okay to ask, oh, I haven't played that. What is that? Because the person, if the example is actually good, then they can explain what do they actually mean by throwing in that reference, be it a game or a studio or whatever. And if they can't explain it, then they're just name dropping, and then they're kind of using a dirty trick on you. So you can call them out on that.
But that also requires some sort of like confidence or like taking space. And I know like that can be hard
It is hard,
like,
but it's something to start kind of like rewiring, because it's otherwise really hard to get into those conversations even.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to sort of, I guess at some point you have to sort of take the matters into your own hands, in a sense that like you start voicing your opinion and taking space and asking questions. And it is true, at least I believe, that most people don't mean bad. It's like they mean well, or they just don't realize. And it is annoying, and especially in the LGBTQA plus stuff, it's like accidental discrimination is super annoying, and it should not fall on the discriminated all the time to be the ones who bring it up. But at least personally for me, because I guess I'm a bit more talkative and confident, I wish I can be a person in spaces that like can do that for some people who maybe are not as ready to like interrupt or take space, then like say that like, hey, that's not all right, or like, can you explain, because like not everyone got it, or whatever. So I hope that those people who are already at that point that they can do that would do that to like for other people too, if they like see around that someone is not getting into the conversation or understanding something, that you would then bring them in and like shoulder the work a bit.
Yes, I think that's a great point to kind of end at.
Yeah.
Any last wishes to the rest of the jammers, or do you want to poof into non-existence?
Well, I can just say that like I'm very excited to see everyone's games, and I know it's like last few hours push right now, so don't burn yourself out. And even if the game is not like finished and polished, it's probably gonna be really cool, and I can't wait to see everyone's projects. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This was really lovely, and I got to laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I'll just
we're gonna poop.
disappear.
No, wait, that way.
All right, that was
All right.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
We have our last interviewee. Yeah. Caroline, you should be here. I think.
Ta-da!
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi. Hello, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Before we start, I've been listening to the last few minutes of your conversation with Glossibone, and the comment about the biology, just I'm steaming here, raging, and I have to insert history fact here because I will not survive unless I do. Coding was a women's job in the 50s, and it was considered a female job.
Yes.
And it was
only
underpaid.
it was only when salaries went up that it was no longer considered women's work.
Yes. So.
Yes.
History.
Yeah. Getting back to Ada Lovelace.
Exactly. But yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm passionate about things.
Hi, how are you doing? Except fuming.
Yeah. You can steam more. Yeah.
I'm doing really great. I did such a tiny amount in this jam. I feel a little bit guilty, but I'm going super relaxed, and I'm just like mind blown by what our team has been able to do. I'm just like, I want to draw all these things for you guys because you're amazing. So I'm having a grand time.
That's good. Yeah, and this is not your first jam, and I mean as a background, we know each other from before. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So how many jams have you kind of been to or helped organize or so at this point, do you think?
Do I count the ones I've organized at schools for 6, 7 around? Like there were the jams we were in together, and then I'm counting this one now, and then like small jams we've made for schools, like our students, like tiny jams between schools and like that. Småtingish.
Yes. How's the so you've been doing kind of a little bit of art, and that's what you usually do in games? Question mark.
Yeah, it's my comfort zone. Oh my god, the graphics art. I just kind of love dropping in and being like, okay, what do you need, and just trying my best to imitate whatever people are doing. So
what is
support?
Like, yeah, do you have any tips for like artists who want to learn how to imitate someone else's style?
Oh, I don't think there's like a do this and it's gonna be amazing. Maybe like just reference draw, like put the drawing you want to imitate next to it and just repeat it a few times and you'll get the gist of it. Usually, yeah, follow colors, like don't eye the colors, pick the exact same colors, but also ask the artist if you can what brushes they use. It makes a hell of a difference if you use your own brush or if you use it exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like that usually helps, especially digitally.
Yeah,
that's a really good kind of like starting point. I'm sorry if there's noise from my background. My dude just arrived, and he does not know that we're doing this, so he might start making noise. Nam, do you have any questions? I'm like just like it's been a while since I saw you. So
okay, let's turn this.
Wow.
Let's turn this around. How have you been doing? Like both of you.
Oh, we super bubbly, yeah.
Super tired.
I mean, I've been on cloud 9 about like how well everything's kind of gone. I'm just like, I mean, first of all, I was just baffled that the jam sold out. That was like not a plan of ours that would happen. We were thinking this is going to be a much smaller jam than we've run before, and then not only that, there were people who were contacting us like, can we get tickets only to the talks and kind of just follow along that. Then we were able to somehow land much more sponsors than we had like planned for, so we got much better swag than we thought we would, and then we like the jam is just amazing people. The Discord server conversation has been just lovely to follow. The games that are being made are just like, yeah, exactly. Like I'm just like, yes, that's how I'm doing. A little bit of like sleeplessness as well. So I'm running on coffee at this point. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I have mine over here. Yes, it's a Beatles mug. Yes, but yeah, that's how I'm doing. And also, of course, like our organizing team, just organizers have been amazing, and the stream stuff has been amazing. Speakers have been amazing. And I'm like, we made this happen.
Dream comes true.
That's what that's how I'm
I
doing.
don't hate Disney anymore.
So
How
are you doing, Nam?
Yeah, well, I'm just absorbing everything, like the vibe, the mood, the atmosphere. Yeah, it was super that to see everything works, and yeah, it works as expected, and yeah, everyone has each other back, and yeah.
Amazing. I'm so happy. And you're setting the bar up. Like I am waiting for next year already. Like, give me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, roll the steam until next year, 2022.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah. Did you wanna share some experiences and perspective on art and LARP? Isn't it?
LARPing, yes. I think
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
a
LARPing.
comment
Yeah,
Our stream
somewhere.
tech
Beyond,
Bjorn
yeah.
wants to know more about
Want to
LARPing.
know that they're
Okay.
curious.
So, LARP stands for live action role playing. Now, let's start with the premise. I think people know like RPGs, especially like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I think that's like a good standard to start with. You go in and you have a chance to RP, role play your character, be the character, walk and talk like the character, and emote like the character. And like from there, maybe you could go to tabletop, so you have less graphics and you have to do all the graphics in your mind. But like LARPing is one step further. Yes.
D&D, yeah.
It's
Ooh, somebody's a DM.
in the makings. I haven't run anything yet.
Please do. Yeah. So LARPing would be basically taking your body as it is and planting it in the environment you want to game with. And the other players there will have their own characters, and they will interact and react with you there. So
is it kind of like an interactive theater kind of thingy? Except you don't have
Yes.
lines?
No script.
And singing. Or yet.
We can go to singing in a bit. I'll explain. It's okay. Pandora's box.
You don't have to be a bard to sing, okay? That's stereotype.
Okay. Here's a really cool thing. I like my voice. You can hear it's a raspy little dying cacophony of hamsters.
Necromancer.
Yeah, I don't have a good voice at all.
Yeah.
But in LARPs,
Karo is a hamster necromancer. You heard it here first.
yeah,
Oh my god.
me. I'll have that as a shirt. But the thing about games like LARPs is if I would have a bard and I would sing, I would get the reaction of that is the mind-blowing, amazing Adele performance ever.
Mhm.
And even I cannot sing, but I would get that experience of like having like the boost of I sang,
Mhm.
actually dared to sing, and no one was sassy or bitchy about it. I didn't get like like comments like oh you shouldn't do that. Like I would even be able maybe to charm people with it, and that would be a really positive booster.
So everyone's playing along with that. Okay, now you're singing and you're performing the performance of your lifetime.
Yeah,
and reacting to that, even though it's not real.
Yes, and then like I'm a scrawny little potato. Like I have never been really strong, but I've got to play characters that are like a paladin, full plate armor, big ass sword, and I take a match with like this 2-meter high guy I would never be able to beat in real life, and I totally like mop the floor with him. We've of course practiced beforehand what we're gonna do. And those experiences are just mind-blowingly awesome. And it doesn't always have to be just fantasy. Like we've run games that are sci-fi.
Mhm.
We are working on a big vampire game at the moment. That's like you have your gangs and underground and graffiti walls, and then you're like 100-year vampire who's seen the 80s and maybe dresses like the 80s, but is running around with a ragged jacket and trying not to die from the sunshine in an actual city once Miss Corona doesn't poop on our plants.
How's then? So this is LARP, so live action role playing, but you mentioned that these are games. So how does the game part of it or the systems part of it work? How do you resolve things in LARP?
Yeah. So first comes the planning part of it. So we will write characters, and we will not write like it's not just a book like Lord of the Rings. Our characters are quite long at this moment, especially for the vampire game, but we build in plots. So you've seen something, you've heard something, you've had a dream, you found an item, something along those lines, and other people have written in their characters that they want it, they need it, they are afraid you will say something, and then they have something else to offer you. So it's plot-based, like a social game. We make sure that everyone has positive and negative contacts. So you have your arch enemies, and then you have your buddies you can trust, or can you? And that's like one aspect. And then we have events built in, like game masters. We can railroad events sometimes. It's not so like popular or spoken of. But
so what does the concept of railroading mean in this case?
Thank you.
It's an RPG term.
Yeah. So railroading, we've kind of built a railroad where we want the game to go. Like we want a specific event to happen in the game. For example, we had a sci-fi game where there was a robot attack. And we kind of had to plan, like, well, not us, but the game masters. I wasn't a game master in that particular game. They had to plan the game and prompt the game in a direction that was actually feasible in the game to happen. I'll try to give us simpler.
So something that the game planner has planned that this will happen, and then they make that happen regardless of what the players are doing.
Yeah, sometimes optimal situation is optimal situation is that the players caused the event to happen, and they will feel that they actually made it happen. Like it wasn't railroaded. Yes. So you did something and you messed up. You put in the wrong coordinates, and you find yourself in the middle of a silent army or robot army, and then you're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that situation where I stole a baguette.
Yeah.
And then my DM create a magical policeman to pull out my magic.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, but in like just real life, and there are different forms of playing. There's the Nordic LARP scene, and then there are different like playing types in like Middle Europe or in USA. USA is more like, as far as I've gathered, it's more like your character has hit points, and if you get hit enough of times, you might die. Whereas in Nordic LARP, you don't have hit points. If you get hit and you feel like dying, like this is dramatically amazing, you are allowed to die a dramatic death, and everyone's just devastated around you, and you'll be like, yeah.
So that does sound like it's well, in Nordic LARP as opposed to like American LARP, it does sound like it requires quite a lot of trust in the players to be able to, you know, play this in a way where they're actually like leaning into their characters and leaning into the drama of it all. What are ways in which you kind of build that or make that happen?
Well, yeah. How you make that happen? I guess the starting point would be unlike maybe PC games or any other card game or even tabletop RPGs, you play to lose. Like that is the mindset. You want to play so you can like lose. You do not want to win the game. Like it might feel satisfying to survive and get all the gold and save the planet 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, but it like you kind of force it at some point, and it's not so satisfying anymore. So like encountering hardships, troubles, like crisis mode is way more interesting in what your character can actually do and experience than just winning all the time and having the best armor.
Push for the limits, you know, test the limits in a sense. Yeah.
That sounds excellent. Like that sounds like you get a lot of players who are like on purpose like idiots or being stupid about things, and it sounds super fun.
Yeah, like random variety kind of thing. Yeah.
And the beautiful part is that there's also like, okay, you play to lose, but there's also like maybe one rule to rule them all. I don't know if I can use that reference. Is whatever your character does, it's not you. If your
True,
character is being really mean or like a complete idiot or
A different gender from your real gender.
yes, whatever the character is, it is not who you are. So we have extensive debriefings after games where we go like, hey, my character was this and this, but I am Carolyn, I am this and this. Like I might take these parts from the character, but I really dislike this aspect of this character. Like I hated the fact that this character was this and this abusive or lied or did these nasty things. It's not who I am. And we go through these really, really long debriefs to kind of break down like disentangle who we are and who the character was. That's tiny therapy afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also like if you're doing improv or theater, that's like getting out of character. It's a step you have to do, otherwise you're gonna kind of keep that on, and it's weird sometimes when you don't do that and you get like weird intrusive thoughts from your character or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think one last question. So if someone listening to this is like, hell yeah, I want to try this, what should they do? Because LARP games are not that low threshold to participate in.
No, we as a community, we've been really trying to be accessible, but the problem with art, like with LARPs, is that you cannot come and just observe. It's one rule that if you come, you have to participate. You cannot just come as yourself and chill and look at the characters and the places and be like, oh, I'll take a photo. You can't, because it intrudes on the safe space we've built for the players. But if you would be interested, there are a few organizations that actually work forward to make it accessible. One would be larpis.fi, just larpis.fi. That's like an info page of the Finnish LARP like scene. It also has a calendar in there where we usually put in games that are coming, and if they are in the calendar, they are open for anyone. Like games that are not open, I don't think they are there, like invitational games. They will not be on the calendar because we fill them from our like circles, but they are super rare. We usually just make a game and be like, please someone come to our game, we would love that. So larpis.fi and the LARP calendar. Thank you for putting that in. And then there are different kinds of yhdistys. Could that help me?
Organizations. Yeah,
organizations. Association, I think, is better. If you're more into historical games, then Harmaasudet ry. They are more like reenacting history, being accurate about Vikings or the Middle Ages. Then there is Illusia ry, who is like a hub for the Helsinki area. We have in-game space. Everything's kind of toned down because of Corona right now. But for example, Illusia was there helping to make Odysseus. If you want to Google Odysseus LARP and you like sci-fi, do it. That's like, I'm going to use it as a promo everywhere. But they also do fantasy games. They do more like not the historical kind. Like historical but fantasy. A vampire game will be done through them. In Oulu, there is OEA. So that's like Gathers for the North. And if you have kids, like yay small, they might like Soturikissa, the warrior cat thingy, amazing series, or Harry Potter, Avatar ry. And that's a very good place to volunteer, to come and make games for children and young adults. And one last, through Illusia ry, there will be a game making course this autumn. It's sponsored by, I think, Tampere city. And it's like a 3-month, 4-month-ish long course where you don't have to have any knowledge about games. You will go to tiny games and you will learn how to make LARPs. So yeah, a lot of info.
Awesome. Yeah, I also know that if you're a Swedish speaker, you might want to check out Eloria,
Yes.
who run games in Swedish. How is the language question though? Do games usually run in Finnish or English in Finland?
Let's put it like this. We usually make them in Finnish just because people who come to the games are Finnish. But if we would get an English-speaking person, we would be more than happy to accommodate. Okay, let's translate this character. Let's translate the contacts. Let's help with the material. It's not meant to be exclusive just because we use Finnish. It's just we are quite a small group, and we really want to be inclusive.
Yes, so that's a thing to keep in mind. The information might be in Finnish only, but contact the organizers and they'll be happy to try to accommodate you.
Yes, you can poke me. I would like a tiny Discord conversation. I'll walk you through it, translate on the go, and help in any way I can.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of research and Google Translate, and then just making sure that my final translation with the content owner that this is what I understand, and making sure that we're on the same page, and that's also fine. So yeah,
yes,
it's not that hard to execute.
Yeah, all right. Hey, super cool. Thank you for this. Thank you for talking about LARPing as well. Really nice to see you. Do you want to say something to our jammers before you poof into the ether? If you want to poof away, you can also do another outro if you want to.
You are amazing. Thank
you.
I just take off all my proverbial hats of impressness. Like making games in such a short amount of time, mostly with people you don't know, that takes a lot of courage. So everyone who takes part in a jam and helps someone out is in my books a hero. So thank you. Now I can poof into the ether. Whoosh.
Awesome. Yeah. I think was that all of our interviews, or did we have some? Cool. I mean, I knew we have amazing jammers, but this was
I was over the top. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And cool.
I feel really happy to have been part of these conversations as well.
Yeah.
These were
we are the one who blessed. Yeah.
Now that we're running towards the end of the stream, if anyone of our jammers are still watching, we remind you that the upload deadlines are coming up pretty soon. We recommend that you start your submission process around 2. So that means create your itch.io page for your game, make it look all pretty and snazzy and so on, and then make sure you upload your game and make the video. Because this year we're going to be showing the videos in the closing stream, not play the games themselves. So your video is your kind of main submission. If you, after the jam, want to go in and edit your game a little bit or things like that, you can absolutely do that. Although the submission page will, of course, show your jam version of the game. And anything to add to that, Nam?
No, all the technical steps, very clear. I just wish everyone finish the stuff, and then very excited to see what's cooking and to be shown.
Yeah. And we absolutely wish you like a really, really good end of the jam. And we're so psyched to see what you made during this weekend. And yeah, we'll see you at the closing stream. If you have any questions about the submission process, do ask around in the Discord server. We are there to help you, guide you through that if needed. So let's not have problems because of that. And also, if your submission happens to run like late by 2 minutes or something, ping an organizer on the Discord so that we can sort that out with you as well. All right.
All right.
Okay.
We're gonna poof into existence.
Yes. Let's poof like 3, 2, 1.
Two, one.